Okay, so I see most everybody's joined. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today.
You're
We'll
welcome.
go we'll go ahead and get started. So thank you again for joining us for our Designing Your Migrated course session. My name is Sabrina, and I'm an instructional designer with Academic Technology Services. I'm joined today by my colleagues Chad Harris and Angel Publico Kobayashi. Chad will be co-presenting with me, and Angel will provide us with support today. So before we get started, I'd like to review some general housekeeping with you. So during the live presentation, if you have any questions at all, please type them in the chat, in the Zoom chat. Our support ID, Angel, will respond to you in the chat if she's able. If there are a little more complex questions, we'll try to get to them at the end, since we will have a live Q&A. And then also at the end, we will provide an evaluation link. If you wouldn't mind, we'd be very grateful if you could fill that out for us so that we can improve these presentations for future offerings, especially since this is our first offering of this particular session. So here's our agenda today. We'll cover the differences between live and migrated courses, how to prepare a course using migrated content, what specific content you should review within your migrated course, and then provide a brief live demo of some items we discuss, followed by our Q&A session. There's a lot of information to cover, so a lot of this will be pretty high level. There's also some things we will cover where there's not necessarily a one-size-fits-all solution. So we ask that you reach out. We'll mention that we will ask you to reach out to us directly if you encounter some of these items that we bring up during the session. This is only because some of these matters are so unique that we definitely need to troubleshoot them individually. So with that note, I'll hand it over to Chad now to cover the differences between a live course and a migrated course.
All right. Let's see. Do you want me to follow along with this slide and just tell you to change? Okay. Okay. So first of all, we're going to start with describing the difference between a live course and a migrated course. All right. And you can start by logging into your dashboard if you want to follow along. Live courses are designated by the term notation underneath the title. So you notice it's that yellow box underneath the title. Live courses will contain all the students registered for that term. Live courses, sometimes we call these shells, do not have content until you copy that content from a previous term. Canvas gives the instructor that control. You will need to copy content into new live course shells for every upcoming term. Note the Publish button at the top left of the course icon. Students will not be able to enter the course until you publish. This is also in your control as an instructor. Just as a side note, if you have not taught in Canvas until now, you may still see empty live course shells from fall 22 and spring 23. These were automatically created. You can, for the most part, ignore them. They have no content in them, but keep this in mind when you copy your content that was migrated from BeachBoard. We'll show you that during the live demo. Now we're going to look at where your BeachBoard content was migrated to. All the content from your BeachBoard courses were migrated into a term in Canvas called BeachBoard migration. You can note that term notation below the course title. This is not a live term like we just showed you on the last slide. So they will never have students in them. They also do not contain any student data, such as assignment submissions, grades, discussion posts, quiz attempts, etc. They just contain all the content from your BeachBoard version of your course. Keep in mind that although most, if not all, your content was migrated, occasionally there may be items that did not migrate successfully, or they may look different. We'll go into more detail on that on the next slide. All right, now that you've determined which courses are migrated, it's time to prepare yourself to use your migrated course content. First, we highly recommend requesting a development shell, or what we call a dev course, if your live course is not yet available. You can request this from our Canvas LMS team using the form, and we'll put the link to that form in the chat. You just fill out that form to request a dev shell. Once your dev shell is ready, or if you already have access to your live shell, we recommend copying your migrated content into one of these. The reason for this is that it preserves your migrated course in the state you taught it in for that specific semester. However, this is just our recommendation, and you may modify your migrated course if you wish. We will demo how to copy a course towards the end of this presentation. Next, you will need to review all of your migrated content and make modifications as needed. So next, we will be covering some specific areas of your migrated course that we recommend that you review first. Go ahead to the next slide. So here are the areas we will be covering in terms of reviewing your migrated content. This has been selected based off various instructional design consultations and what we found would be most useful for this session. Today, we'll go over announcements, assignments, modules, quiz question types, question banks, and rubrics. First, announcements. This Canvas tool is the equivalent of the news item from the BeachBoard. It is located in the course navigation menu and straightforward to edit if you need to update these for next semester. After entering the announcements area, click on the title of the announcement. Once the announcement loads, you will see the options menu, or the three dots, sometimes we call this like a bob, in the upper right-hand corner to get to the edit option. Click on edit to be able to make any necessary adjustments to your announcement, including setting up a release date for when the announcement gets posted to your students in the course. Okay, moving on to modules. Next slide. So moving on to modules, this is the equivalent of the content area in BeachBoard. You can add links to pages, files, assignments, quizzes, discussion boards, and more within this module area. In general, the module area should look very similar to how you had content set up in BeachBoard. Next slide. Click on the title of any module item to review the content within and make edits as needed. Also, make sure to check for any broken links or images as you check each item. And at this point, I'll hand the reins back to Sabrina.
Awesome. Thanks, Chad. And again, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. Angel will be happy to answer those for you. So now let's discuss assignments. So assignments are basically the equivalent of Dropbox and BeachBoard. You will create an assignment for anything you would not use the discussion or the quiz tool for. And then, for example, to have students submit papers or to have a grade item in the gradebook, you would create an assignment for that. Similar to the last two items that Chad presented, you'll want to review those for accuracy as well. Make sure points look right, all the text is there. But in general, assignments are pretty straightforward. So when you first log into assignments or the assignments page, you'll notice Canvas also lists discussions and quizzes here as indicated by the icons on the left. So you can see assignments have the paper with the pencil icon, quizzes have the rocket ship, and discussions have the speech bubble. So just note that anything that's graded will show up on the assignments area. So this page is similar to the Manage Grades area in BeachBoard, where it listed all of your graded items. And you could also have categories, which is what they were called in BeachBoard. In Canvas, they are called assignment groups. And you can also add in weighted grading, which you can see there are two assignment groups on this screenshot. One is called assignments and the other is called discussions. And then to the far right of that, you'll see 0% of total for each of those categories or each of those groups. And that is how you can tell what group has what percent of the weighted percentage in your course. And that's if you use weighting. So I highly recommend actually signing up for our Canvas gradebook and speed grader session, which is offered this Thursday. So if you haven't already signed up for that and you want to learn more about assignments and the gradebook, because they are very directly connected, this session will go over this in more detail. So otherwise, in terms of checking your migrated content, you want to click on the title of each of these assignments and just edit the content as needed. Just do a skip. Sorry about that. My PowerPoint's being a little sensitive today. Okay, so there are a few items we'll cover regarding quizzes today. Again, much like the other areas, you want to review your quizzes for accuracy. In general, if you've only been using multiple choice or true-false question types, these should have migrated over accurately. But otherwise, we're going to cover one question type that has had some migration hiccups. So formula, otherwise known as arithmetic in BeachBoard, is the one that we will cover today. And then we'll also briefly discuss question banks and the randomization of questions. So formula questions, again, known as arithmetic questions in BeachBoard, we realize that a lot of faculty may not use this question type. However, we've identified that this one seems to be the most time consuming in terms of modifying the question if any content is missing. So the reason some of these questions seem to not migrate properly is the type of brackets used for variables is different in Canvas than it was in BeachBoard. So BeachBoard used the curly brackets and Canvas uses the square brackets. So those curly brackets will definitely need to be updated in the question stem for the variables to the square ones if you are using formulas. And then double check that your formula questions, that the formula definition and the variable definitions are present. If those are not present, like they were in BeachBoard, definitely contact our department and we'll work with you individually to update these questions so that those question types are functioning as they should in Canvas. And then for question banks, there are several nuances we've noticed with these. Question banks may become disconnected from the quiz in the course. If you notice those connections are missing, you'll need to relink those. There are two ways you can do this, by either creating question groups in your quiz and linking it to a question bank, or by finding the questions in a question bank and adding them as needed to your quiz. So we'll put both resources in the chat for your reference. Angel will post those. One is how to find questions in a question bank, and then how to create a quiz with question group linked to the question bank. And then another big difference is that Canvas does not have subfolders for question banks. So if you use subfolders in BeachBoard, double check that those double check your migrated courses basically to see if anything is missing. If it is, definitely reach out to us so we can investigate that further and find that content for you. And then question banks may also be turned into quizzes. This issue is quite rare, but it has happened, I think, only once or twice. And if you discover that's happened, let us know and we'll work with you on a solution for that. Okay. And then question shuffling or randomization. So when quizzes are migrated over, only shuffling of answers is actually an option in Canvas, not shuffling of questions. So if you had your questions shuffled or randomized in BeachBoard, you can do this by creating question groups and moving your questions into that group. Since the group is selecting from the available questions, it's basically randomizing the order of the questions for each student. This is the best workaround for getting randomization of questions in quizzes. If you also use question banks, you can also achieve the same thing by using the methods we mentioned previously and the guides that Angel posted in the chat for you. And then lastly, we'll briefly discuss rubrics. We have noticed when rubrics come over from BeachBoard, there are times where the criteria descriptions and points are not aligned and points might be incorrect. So there isn't a clear reason why this is happening other than the tools are slightly different in each system, and it depends on how the rubric was built in BeachBoard. The good news is it's only minor edits that are usually needed. I don't think we've seen anything major yet. So just make sure you check those rubrics and edit accordingly. So again, many of these items we've mentioned are so that you can look at them before fall begins and are not in the midst of teaching your course before realizing there's an issue. So definitely take a look at all of those items in your course. And if you utilize them and need assistance, please definitely let us know. So we'll put our contact information in the chat, ats-instructionaldesign@csulb.edu. And we're happy to help you with that. We want to make sure you're fully prepped for fall and that you're good to go. So now I'm going to let Chad demonstrate a few things before we officially open it up to questions. So let me stop my share for you, Chad.
Alrighty, hold on a second. Bear with me. Can you all see my screen with my sandbox course?
Yes.
Give a thumbs up. All right. Okay, so as you can see, I've landed into my main course. And what I want to show you right now is very quickly how to copy content. As we mentioned, Canvas gives the instructor the power to copy content into your live term shells, which are initially empty, but have students in them. So it's really easy for instructors to do this. So if I'm on the home page of my course, whatever I have the home page set to, I'll have this menu on the right, starting with import existing content. And that first button is what you push. Is you should just click at import existing content. It'll open up this next screen for you. And then you have content type. So in this content type dropdown right here, if you're copying a course from a migrated term or a previous term, you simply choose the first item, copy a Canvas course. So if I select that, it pops up this page right here. In this search for a course under course name, on your side, if you simply click on it, you'll get a drop-down of your courses. Since I am an administrator, or I have different access to Canvas, my courses are displaying a little different than yours will in this drop-down. But what you'll see in your drop-down is you'll see courses grouped by headings. And you just want to make sure that the course you're copying has content in it. If it's the first time you're teaching in Canvas, the content will be in this BeachBoard migration term. So just make sure you're copying from the right term. Occasionally, instructors will pick one of the live terms that were created for you in fall and spring, this last spring and fall of last year. Those are empty, but they'll still be sitting in there, and you'll see those on your course list in this drop down. Occasionally, you'll copy from that. If you'll notice that happens if you did a course copy but nothing actually came over. It's still empty. We're probably copying from one of your previous live terms that were empty. Okay, so just make sure that when you're doing that, you're copying from a BeachBoard migration term, and then you click all content. This button right here, next to content, and then you just simply click import, and that will import your course, and you'll see a log of all your import activity down below. All right, and it usually takes only like a couple of minutes. It depends on how much media you have in there and how much content there actually is. But that's as easy as that. That's how you copy content into your live term. So you will have to do that for every new term. Your courses are created automatically, of course, just like they were in BeachBoard. They will have students automatically enrolled in them, but you will be responsible for pulling that content from previous terms. All right. Any questions about that?
Hi.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Brian, I'll get to you next.
So I'd also like to import some stuff from a course that a colleague of mine taught last semester. I'm teaching the course that he taught in the spring, and I want to do some of the similar readings and etc. So is that more involved?
There's a couple of ways that your colleague can share that content with you. They can either enroll you in their course as an instructor, and then you can simply do a copy just like I did. And since I'm still sharing my screen, I can show you when I do a course import and I select copy a Canvas course, and I choose my course, I can actually select specific content to copy. I don't have to copy the entire course. I can do a selection right here. And when you click that, you have to click import first, and then it prompts you to select what content you want to do, pull over. That's one way. The other way is simply if there is a specific module or a page that your colleague can share with you, they can actually just push that over to you. And I can show you that really quickly. If I go, actually, I need to go to some content. So I'm on my module page. Most of your courses will default to the module page. If I go to any piece of content on my module page and I use one of these far right, the 3-dot kebab button right here, and I choose that kebab button, I can choose copy to right here, or actually I can send to as well. So you're actually would be, if your colleague simply wants to share a module or a certain page with you, they can just basically send to, and then they would put your email in. So if I click send to, I type in an email. So if I type in Sabrina's, it should pop up here any second. There's a few Sabrinas here. All right, I gotta move some things. I can't see. Anyway, you get the point. I can choose Sabrina to copy to, and then click send, and then what they'll get is an email with a button to click, and they click on that button and it automatically installs that into your course. So those are two ways, right? You can pull, they can enroll you as an instructor in that course and you can pull whatever you want from it, or they can push it to you by doing a send to.
Okay, and the push it is, as you just described, using email.
It gives you an email notification with a button, but it will automatically put it into your Canvas course. And I'm pretty sure it uses the inbox feature. So you'll get a notification in your CSULB email to go to the inbox, and you may have to do that in the inbox. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sabrina, but I think you do have to do that from your inbox. And then there's a button in that email that will automatically install it into your course.
So it's actually under account. So if you click on your account, Chad.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. And then shared content.
Shared content. It pushes that into this shared content folder. Exactly. Sorry.
Yeah.
It doesn't push it into any particular course, but it will push it into the shared content. And then you can click there and then use that content.
Yeah.
How you want to.
Okay.
This is all my shared content.
I see. So if we do the pushing rather than him enrolling me in as instructor, he's going to deposit the material that I want into which is it? Where would I look for it?
You'd go to if he does a send to and uses your email, it will come to your Canvas account to shared content. So it's
shared content.
It's this top button right here on account when you're first in Canvas. And then you click that and you go to shared content.
Okay, I see. Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure. Brian, go ahead.
Thank you. My question was on very similar lines. I've taught a couple classes at Long Beach City College, which has been using Canvas. So I guess from what you were just saying, for me to get that content from my own courses, at a different institution, I just enroll myself in those courses at City College, and then I'll be able to import.
Yeah, well, since it's at a different institution, you won't have that connection. This only works for if you're at CSULB. So the accounts are distinct. So you wouldn't be able to copy directly. You would have to do what's called a course export, and that's fairly easy as well, especially since you're going from one Canvas instance to another. And we can show you how to do that. Should I just demonstrate that real quick? Do we have time?
Yeah, we have some time if you want to show that. Yeah.
So that would be a course export, right? So if you're at your other institution, you go into the Canvas course, you should have, and it depends on the permissions that your other institution gives you, I think. But you can do what's called where's the export button? Someone remind me. Is that in settings?
I thought it was on the home page.
I think it might be in settings. Yeah, here it is. So I would go, I'd go to my course menu and scroll all the way to the bottom to settings. This is where a lot of your course settings are. And then once I'm in settings, I will go to export course content. right here, this menu on the right, and I choose export course content. And then I would just take course and create export, and it exports it as a zip file. And then you would need to take that zip file, and then when you are in your CSULB course, you would go to the home page, and then you would import existing content, just like if you were copying from a CSULB course. Import existing content. And then when you select type, you would want to do, where is it? It's Canvas course export package, the second item right here. When you choose that, then it'll prompt you to browse for that zip file that you downloaded from your other Canvas instance.
Okay.
And then you don't need to open the zip file or anything. You just designate it. It'll upload it in, and it'll populate your course. So don't make sure that your current shell is empty when you do that. If there's content in there, it'll simply add it to that content, and you know, it won't write over anything, but it will add the content if you already have existing content.
Got it. Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.